Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dave Smilek, the Business Development Director for Precision Guidance and Sensing Solutions. Let me welcome you. Let me extend a thank you for joining us this afternoon and hearing about some great capability that we're bringing to the warfighter. I've been with BAE Systems just over 20 years. During this time, I've had the opportunity to work with some really fantastic teams focused on delivering product that addresses gaps that our warfighters are currently seeing. And that's what, as Tate mentioned, we protect those who protect us. That's what, these capabilities are all about, addressing gaps and keeping our warfighters safe. Today, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you about our Advanced Precision Kill Weapon System, Shipboard Counter-UAS Solution. Before we kick things off, we're going to just start with a real quick video that shows you some of the existing capabilities of APKWS and some of the expanded capabilities that we've added over the past several years. So that video kind of showed you where APK got its start as an air-to-ground munition fired off of both rotary and fixed-wing platforms. What I want to do now really is just jump right into the APKWS shipboard counter-UAS solution that we look to bring forward. Back in 2021, we recognized that there was a need for a low-cost interceptor to address the increasing threats in small Class 2, Class 3 UASs. At the time, we believed that APKWS could address that threat, and we set into motion a series of tests and demonstrations with the U.S. government. Over that 3-year period, we conducted over 50 successful intercepts during over 200 hours of testing and evaluation. Those results have been documented by the Joint Small Counter UAS Office, JCO, and really established APKWS, Counter UAS, as an effective, extremely effective, I should say, interceptor. We have another video to show real quick here that will give you, some of that actual footage from those test events. Right? I mean, that's a less than 30K. You want to see it again? So that's a less than 30K interceptor, again, taking out Class 2 and Class 3 drones. So you can see in that video how we've now matched the effector with the cost of the threat, which is key. So what exactly comprises the APKWS counter UAS solution? If you start with the rocket, with the APKWS, The only modification that we're doing to the rocket itself is the addition of a proximity fuse to the warhead. What that does is that gives us the ability to engage or defeat a UAS by getting into, as the name suggests, into the proximity. We no longer have to have a direct hit of the UAS. We can leverage the blast frag pattern of the warhead to down the UAS. And that's critical to increasing the P hit, or the P defeat of probability of hit, the probability of defeat of the UAS. The other system components are all critical to the detection, tracking, and designation of the threat. We depend on a radar signal to do the initial detection of the UAS, of the threat. The radar will then hand off to an infrared camera that's part of a target acquisition and designation device, a TADS. So that IR camera, again, picks up the UAS or the threat, starts to track, locks on, and we can then track. We get to the point where now it's time to designate. So we'll empower, or we'll engage the designation system, designate the target. At that point, we have what we refer to as a Target Illumination Verification System, or TIVS. The TIVS is a BAE Systems product that we developed to allow the user, to allow the operator to be ensured that he has a proper designation, or she has a proper designation of the threat. If you picture a pilot in the movies and he's got his joystick and he's moving his thumb and he's moving the joystick and he says, "Got lock." That's what TIVS does. TIVS allows the operator to confirm lock on target with the designation. At that point, he can fire. He can fire APK, which would be resident in a launcher mounted to a stabilized turret. And again, this is all pulled together with a fire control system. So that's the basic concept of operations and components for APKWS, Shipboard Counter UAS. To date, we have fired off of multiple platforms, multiple mobile and static platforms. We are now working with the Navy and with maritime, I'll say, customers to integrate APK Counter UAS with the Mark 38 weapon system on surface vessels to provide that integrated counter UAS capability as part of a layered shipboard self-defense solution. The benefit of integrating with the Mark 38 is that it provides an existing stabilized platform for the launcher. There is an existing control console that we can simply supplement with the required components and capabilities of the APK Counter UAS solution. And we can do this minimizing footprint and the overall complexity of integration. At the end of the day, with APK Counter UAS, the Navy customers, they get the benefit of a proven lethal interceptor that is low cost, so again, aligned with the cost of the threat, extremely accurate, readily available from either existing inventory, or BAE Systems has the ability to produce at a capacity or at a rate of 25,000 per year. So based on that initial inventory, based on that production capacity, we're ensured of allowing the customer or the user to maintain a deep magazine. So in conclusion, we believe the APKWS Counter UAS solution will address the current gap, the current small Class 1, Class 2 Counter UAS threat. And we talk again about protecting the warfighter. This is our effort to protect the sailors who protect us. I will end there and hand it over to Veronica.
Thanks, Kate and Dave. Now I'm happy to open up the floor for questions. We just ask that you raise your hand, state your name and your location.
It wasn't that good.
So Mike Baby from James. So I'm just curious where this stands now at the Navy. It sounds a little bit like a sales pitch, which is understandable, but is this something, it looks like something you'll have to develop a program of record for. You can get on existing programs of record. Is that where you are? Is this something you're still in the Navy? Is this something you're kind of developing with the Navy and you're going forward with it? I'm just curious where it all stands with the
Is your question about APKBS?
All of this. Yeah, for both of us.
Yeah, we are in active discussions with the Navy, as I mentioned, for hypervelocity projectile, ongoing dialogue, ongoing coordination, currently under contract with the Office of Secretary of Defense, SCO, Strategic Capabilities Office, and working with the Army RICTO. Navy, we are in active discussions on how to most rapidly field that to the fleet. And then with Mark 38 and APKWS, merging those two mature systems, we are in ongoing active discussions.
So the discussions, negotiations, basically, you all agree that we're going to get a contract for this, and it's just like how much, or is, we'd like to have, so we'll let you know.
I certainly can't speak to the Navy's contracting
Right.
behaviors, even
Right.
from my former life in uniform, but you know, for sure, we are actively working with the Navy and have responded to their call to lean forward and help them.
It's not something we go out for like a competition, this would be kind of sole source type of thing?
Cannot speak to their acquisition strategy or, you know, rules of the FAR, et cetera, but I'm sure they're considering other options from many of our, you know, competitors and partners here in the show at Space today.
Any, like, you gonna be using for any experimentation or anything like that out at sea, or is that depending on how negotiations go?
Ultimately, as part of any developmental program, in the case of APKWS, as you said, there's, you know, multiple examples of proven test cases. Similarly with HVP, we fired over 100 HVP rounds in both the 155 millimeter version, and we fired it from a Navy 5-inch gun, both from a land-based gun as well as during Rim of the Pacific 2018 or RIMPAC, we fired from USS Dewey, the early version of a ballistic HVP prototype.
Ryan?
Ryan Robinson, Strader Rose. Can I actually have you step over to the podium so we can get on the mic?
Oh, of course, I forgot about your
Thank you.
other mic, I'm sorry.
No problem. With the gun, and I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of lost in my thoughts here. The hypervelocity out of the Mark 45, right? So if a captain wants to use that, is it an easy switch over to that ammunition, or does it have to be completely, the magazine is totally loaded with it, and any threat that comes along is gonna get this type of ammo no matter what?
Sure, if you're familiar with the setup below deck of a Mark 45 gun, there is a 20-round loader drum that provides ready service ammunition, which can then be manually backfilled as the gun is firing. So as a part of normal Navy tactics, depending on the threat environment, that ready service ring may be loaded with a mix of ammunition for different missions. Some of those rounds could easily be hypervelocity projectile or the conventional munitions that they're using in the Red Sea today.
And then when we're trying to decide whether we're gonna use a low-cost projectile or a more costly missile, how much time does the captain have before he decides I'm gonna use this weapon or that, or she, I'm gonna use this weapon or that weapon?
I think you should refer to the Navy on their tactics and strategy. However, I think you'll find in recent reporting in the open source that commanding officers are being very specific about how many seconds that they have to decide to act in general in that relatively tight water space of the Southern Red Sea and the Strait of Bab el-Mandeb.
Yes, again, okay. Just curious about the logistics train for this. Would you have to establish a new one? You can get onto existing one with any rounds or anything put out like that?
The benefit of we basically began developing hypervelocity projectile with the Navy as part of the early railgun program, which Navy decided to discontinue, but many of the parts and internal components of the current improved version of the hypervelocity projectile are common to this program that we've developed for OSD SCO, as well as the program that we've developed for the Army. So commonality across the joint force is a great advantage of both 5-inch and 155. Of note, you probably saw in the video the sabot pedals falling off of the round. This is a Savage round, and so the hypervelocity projectile itself is identical for the 155 version or the 5-inch version, which is 127 millimeters. The sabot itself is a different size, but the actual effector on the inside is identical.
Meredith Roden with James. I just wanted to ask about the hypervelocity projectile with the Army RICTO. Are there sort of any upcoming tests expected for that one this year that you can talk about?
Since this is a naval show, I'm not prepared to answer all the questions about the upcoming hypervelocity gun weapon system program, but I can certainly, we can take an action to give you the specifics of what's coming next for the Army and scope area.
All right, folks, thank you all so much for joining us. If you are interested in a one-on-one with any of our experts, please see me, my colleague Alicia Gray, or Shelley Walcott back in green. We also have lunch for you all. Please grab a box and some refreshments, and thank you all again for joining us.